Well, friends, I guess I'm going to learn about editing, or this is going to be in two parts. I don't know, but let's just pretend we're out here having a chat and things happen, right? Like it gets windier and it's not exactly the perfect situation, but we carry on because that's what we do. Hey, guess what? Oh, frozen yogurt. Mmm. With cookies. Cookie dough. Sweet Maria, the wife of the Good Shepherd Pat, just invited me to, here, y'all want a bite? To enjoy a bite of their frozen yogurt. Probably shouldn't eat and podcast, but oh, it's so delicious. So we're just going to go ahead and stop with the projects, and I'll save what I was going to show you for the next episode. So let's talk deep thoughts, shall we? So the theme of my deep thoughts are that I am and you are wonderfully and fearfully made. So on my last podcast, I discussed how my daughter's 24th birthday is July 15th. And today we're celebrating. That's why I look fancy and showered. Not that I won't need another shower after this, because it's, July in Texas and it's hot. But I'm in the shade and the wind is obviously blowing, so it's not too bad. I've been thinking a lot about my daughter's life, a lot about my life, a lot about why we're here. I feel like I've thought about that since the day I was born. But also, like I said, I'm going to Iowa. I'm going to be a counselor for freshman girls. There will be one 8th grader in there. And the topic of this camp is about how accepting the love of Christ, how in doing that we can be more fully loving to ourselves and others. And I love that concept, and it's one that I live by in my code. I don't feel like I follow a religion. I do have a relationship. And this podcast isn't about preaching, it's about just sharing my own faith. I do believe I'm at the point where I'm questioning a lot about what I've always believed, and I'm stepping in some muddy waters, I can tell. Not sure I'm ready to go all the way there yet, so I'll to be continued on that deep thought, but suffice to say, being wonderfully and fearfully made, I believe every human being is, and it's something that I have worked to own myself, and it does hopefully make it easier for me to more fully and easily love others, where judgment and my own bias and things like that might stand in my way. That for me, the love of Christ encompasses every single human being born. And so with that thought and thinking about my daughter's birthday, I was just thinking about when we come across people and we have judgments and we see things that maybe we don't understand. So for example, for me, someone might see my tattoos and they might think all she does is drive a Harley Davidson. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I don't know. I know tattoos are way more acceptable today. I'm just saying, somebody very sweetly said to me last week, was introducing me and being very kind and sharing that I love to knit. But that was one of the things she said. I know she looks like she rides a Harley Davidson, but she's a knitter. it just made me smile. It made me laugh, and it made me think about diversity. And about how every single human being is so different. And yet, we are all wonderfully and carefully and tenderly knit in our mother's wombs. And so that thought makes me also think about my mother. So my daughter and my mother shared a birthday for several years. We'd have a birthday party for them together. My mother's birthday is July 21st. And we come back from this camp the day before my mother's birthday. And I actually leave the day of my daughter's birthday. So all of this women, motherly, mama, love aspect is really on my mind. And, you know, if you've come here before, you heard me talk about Glory Girl, and she is one of the most wonderful, shining examples of an older woman example to me. She loves everybody. She loves herself. She shines like a star in heaven, and I deeply respect her. And she said something to me about my tears, and so I had prayed for several years that God would just take away my tears, because they have been at times an embarrassment to me, and I had shame from that. And over the years, I had decided that it's just part of who I am, and that is more than okay. Some people, as my friend Maria said yesterday, some people were just made to cry. And I just think about how just choosing to accept that and choosing to walk in that has been a blessing in my life, and it could have been something that stopped me from doing this podcast. So I had actually spoken at a women's time together, and there was an older woman there, and though I let it go as far as any bitterness, resentment, things like that, I held on to the lesson, and I've already shared the lesson. The lesson is to listen, hear what people have to say, and then decide for yourself, is that something that you want to take on and be bitter about and be annoyed with or whatever, or let it teach you something. And I decided, I made the choice, and I prayed about it, to let it teach me something. And what it taught me is just to show up in my tears, show up in my boldness, show up in my fear, show up in my anger, show up. Hopefully I put those things, anger, like aside, to where I keep my mouth closed until the right time. But my point is, show up. Don't let someone else and their idea of you keep you from showing up. So I'll tell you what this person said. They said, I would have brought my friend, and I guess their friend was probably going through a really hard time, and was probably going through some depression, things like that. And I had a very hopeful, I was invited to share a hopeful message, and my friend, I believed that my message was hopeful, and I came away feeling good about it. But after it was over, she came up to me and said, I would have brought my friend, but I had a feeling you would probably cry, and I didn't think that she could handle that. For all kinds of reasons. In that moment, someone who I have dealt with my insecurities and my emotional reaction to other people. I've been working on putting that in check, like putting some space between the words and my response. And so that one stayed with me for a while. So I thought there must be a really good lesson here for me if it's staying with me this long. Because I journaled about it. I asked all my questions. Excuse me, my battery's going down. Were they right? What should I take away from this? Instead of letting it beat me down and keep me from speaking and sharing my heart. I think everybody should share their heart. Why in the world are we here? So, Anyway, that's a little tidbit about being wonderfully and fearfully made. If you cry easily, it's okay. It is more than okay. If you don't ever cry, if you are surrounded by a room of puppies and people crying over their cuteness and not one single tear comes to your eye, it's okay. It doesn't mean you're not human or that you don't have compassion or any of those things. To thine own self be true. Know yourself. Be okay with that. Be accepting of it. I'm preaching it because it's something I have to preach to myself all the time. And doing this podcast is one of the things that's helping me. I'm melting. Is helping me overcome that. Because sometimes I cry on here. But my thought is, you can just go away, right? Nobody's going to make you watch. I mean, I hope you watch, but... So, enough on that. I think I'll say one more thing about that. I think it also applies to... No, I don't. I'll stop there. I don't have time. So, at the end of this, we have Fiber Arts, Deep Thoughts. I think we got into that. And Blue October. So, my song for the theme of this week's podcast, and your homework, if you choose to do it, is to listen to the song by Blue October called Inner Glow. INNERGLOW. Inner Glow. It makes me so happy. Excuse me. One more cookies and cream. There we go. So, I hope that your week is filled with the remembrance that you are wonderfully and fearfully made. And whatever thing it is about yourself, if you have any hang-ups, maybe you're one of those amazing people who don't. I don't want to be here to assume that you do. I'm just talking about me, and I want to share this hope and joy with you. Remember that you are wonderfully and fearfully made. I am on your side. I hope that this next week, while I am in Iowa, that you are killing it with how you want to be, how you want to show up in this world, in the relationships you choose to have, and that is a choice, which is a topic I'll get into another day, another time. And the projects that you make, if you have to rip out 18 rows, I hope that maybe you just set that aside and get right back to it whenever you feel the urge to overcome that mistake, like I did with the Jody shawl. So anyway, hopefully we can connect on Instagram. I look forward to seeing you there, and I hope I offered you something that has blessed your next 2 weeks and hopefully brought a smile to your face. Happy birthday to my daughter. We are going to go and enjoy some bowling and some, I think, pizza, and enjoy the life that we've been given. So thank you again so much for joining, and I hope you have a beautiful next 2 weeks. And remember, everything, this is something I'll get into next time, but this is wool. Everything is better with wool and a podcast. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.